Shiny Pokémon have just a 1 in 8,192 chance of appearing. They're simply alternately coloured variants that sparkle on encounter. Safari Week is an annual event where shiny hunters look for such Pokémon in the Safari Zone, where Pokémon can escape you for good. So basically you run into and away from Pokémon for hours on end, hoping one of them might be a different colour, and even when by some miracle you find one, you might not be able to claim it as your own. Why do this? For me, 2 reasons. Firstly, nostalgia is a powerful thing. I was hunting on Fire Red and Leaf Green, the 2004 remakes of the very first Pokémon games, as well as Emerald from 2005 and Soul Silver from 2010. Despite the hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours young me played, I never found a shiny in them, but the notion that they've always been there just waiting to be discovered adds a whole new layer of wonder to these games I love so much. And the second reason to do Safari Week? Bonding with others who share that nostalgia, celebrating your niche hobby as a community. That's why, for Safari Week 2024, I decided to livestream online for the first time ever. So quite literally against all odds, I actually came into the week full of optimism. I mean, after all, my name's Charlie Merriman, I've got a surname to live up to. And I was blissfully unaware of just how crazy, how epic, and how surprisingly personal the forthcoming journey would be. This is the story of my Safari Week 2024. I'm a caster for the Pokémon Video Game Championship series with a background in acting, writing, and comedy. For example, in 2023 I wrote and performed a one-man comedy about my medical condition cystic fibrosis. Since also in 2023 I'd kicked off my casting career, I was excited to lean in and harness my creative background for Pokémon content creation. Having launched my podcast Chazingdra Chats in April 2024, and more on that soon, a couple of months later the anticipation was mounting for Safari Week, and it presented the perfect opportunity for me to start streaming. I had literally no idea who might tune in, especially as someone at that point known really only in the competitive Pokémon community. My main nervousness was around technology functioning, to be honest, the eternal cry, but after all the prep, there comes a point where you just have to take the plunge. And so, on Friday 21st June, for the first time ever, I clicked Go Live. And I absolutely loved it. Right from the get-go, I was so lucky to have such supportive people tuning in and hanging out. Shout out to the first person to ever hop into my chat, Jack, online name Salad. And I'm very grateful to my friend Kyle, aka Quick Panic, whom I met through my podcast, for joining me on call to support my first ever stream. Kyle, thank you so much, mate. And in fact, Kyle found a shiny that night. Check out his Safari video to see, but I did not. And I didn't mind in the slightest. Streaming just felt so right, presenting like I do when I'm casting, but in this case essentially for my own show. And the time flew. Before I knew it, 4 hours had passed and it was midnight. I had well and truly got the bug. I decided then and there to stream every single day of Safari Week. And speaking of bug, in Safari Week 2023, which of course I wasn't streaming, I was lucky enough to find this shiny Venonat. Unluckily though, it ran away. I was gutted. To be honest, it's actually one of the Safari Zone's easier catches, so I'd assumed it would go my way. Plus I'd already failed a shiny Nidorino that week. But more to the point, look at it. A little friend-shaped fluff ball. And in my opinion, the simple change of regular Venonat's red eyes to blue for the shiny is really sleek. And of course, as soon as I'd failed that shiny Venonat, I was enamoured with it. If I were to reclaim it in Safari Week 2024, that would be wonderful, indeed fateful. Though I did also have other targets in mind. Iconic Safari Zone Pokémon Kangaskhan, Chansey, Tauros and Pinsir in Fire Red and Leaf Green, and Larvitar in Soul Silver, a Pokémon I'll never forget running into as a child, having never even heard of it beforehand. Even the regular forms of all these are rare, so just to see any of these shinies would be such a thrill, something a minuscule number of people have ever experienced. And as for my target in Emerald version, Ledibur, a much commoner and fairly weak Pokemon. But I love an underdog, under Ladybird, so I've always had a soft spot, or 5, for it. But these targets are otherwise Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday passed with no shinies at all. And I was now just over odds at 8,906 total encounters so far. One evening I streamed with my good friend and fellow caster Lee Provost, aka Osirus, and come Wednesday 26th of June I was excited to release the episode of my podcast Chazingdra Chats featuring Matt Brandle, aka Absolblog's Pokémon, the host of Safari Week.
Even though I had failed the shinies before and everything, sometimes it's just the journey to see something that matters.
Chazingdra Chats is all about discovering the life stories of people in the Pokémon community, as well as the 6 Pokémon most special to them that they would choose for their dream team. And to be able to provide this insight into such a figurehead of the space was and is a privilege. Matt, huge thanks once more for being on the show, for hosting Safari Week, and for the vast amount you do for this community. And speaking of community, it was humbling as a first-time streamer to experience my own forming. I so looked forward to catching up with new and familiar viewers alike each day, sharing our experiences within Pokémon and beyond, and I was very grateful for the sense of us all being in this challenge together. Though I had so much fun hanging out with everyone, it's easy to forget you're shiny hunting in the first place. They really made full what could have been a pretty hollow experience of not finding shinies. Still none on Thursday, nor on Friday, nor on Saturday. On the Sunday, June 30th, I headed into the final official day of Safari Week. Okay, actually 10 days, but who's counting? With 16,000 encounters under my belt. In other words, I was nearly 2 times over odds. I was so ready for the triumph of finding a shiny just in time, tying a bow around a fantastic week that would not have finished more perfectly. But oh boy, did fate have other ideas. Even as I asked my chat that day if they wanted me to keep going with these streams until I found a shiny, and inevitably they did, I knew in my bones that I would not be content to leave it there anyway. I never give up. Now 18,500 encounters deep, sometimes the only way out is through. But continuing would require adjusting my expectations somewhat. I had indeed streamed every single day of Safari Week, and I ended up doing 12 consecutive days total, but it wouldn't be realistic to keep that up. On Wednesday, 3rd July, I went into London and watched some theatre with family. Much as I've been enjoying the streams, it was a really welcome break. Sometimes we don't realise how much we need time out of the house with people we're close to until it happens. Remember everyone, take breaks and get out there sometimes. I promise you'll thank yourself. It's especially important when it comes to something like shiny hunting because you have no idea when it might come to an end. Then refreshed, a couple more streams took me into the weekend and my brother was visiting. I'd barely seen him all year, so it was really special to hang out, game together, watch England progress to the semi-finals of the Euros, a soccer tournament they'd end up losing in the finals if you're interested, which actually I'm not really. My brother left on the Sunday and I decided to stream in the evening. But of course by this point, Safari Week officially had finished a week ago. Would anyone still be interested in my endeavours? More than that, how could I get people invested? And how could I keep things fresh for my audience of course, but also for me? I had an idea. I grabbed this hat, this khaki overshirt, and these binoculars and posted as if from the Safari Zone. Day 14 of Safari Week. Encounters 24,606. Shinies, 0. Most others have left the Safari Zone. I stay until I witness those elusive sparkles. Join me in 2 hours, 8 PM UK time to see if I get to leave today. Please bring me provisions. And shiny luck. And then the penny dropped. Day 15 in the Safari Zone. Encounters 26,610. Shinies, 0. Day 16 in the Safari Zone. Day 17 in the Safari Zone. Day 18 in the Safari Zone. When you encounter that many Pokemon, you start not being able to think clearly. The other day, thought I saw a shiny Chansey. Turns out it was just a giant egg. Earlier today, thought I saw a shiny Parasect. But that one, of course, actually turned out to be a giant egg. Safari Week may be long gone, but for me, it's not over until something sparkles. Is that shiny Kangaskhan? No, it's just a massive egg. Some would say it's foolish streaming during England's Euro semi-finals match. I too would say that, but desperate times call for desperate measures, because right now, it's Chazingdra, 0. Safari Zone, 30,505. Someone who is leaving the Safari Zone kindly gave me their hat. Not only does it provide sun protection, it's great as a frisbee for passing the time. Please come and provide me with some real entertainment. Back to my ultimate frisbee tournament. I win. The Safari skit was born. As I said, I had gone into content creation excited to harness my background as an actor, writer and comedian. What more apt way to keep interest up in the streams than by making sketches precisely about being trapped in the Safari Zone with no end in sight? It was a good omen that the night I released the very first skit, I found something even rarer than a shiny. Rhyhorn, Execute, Rattata, Leatherbear. No shinies. No shinies. I was so feeling it today. I was so feeling it. Thank you for the shiny luck, Sabrina. Let's see if we've got Pokerus at least. What about an Emerald? Send me a Pokerus luck, everyone. We got it! We got Pokerus and Emerald. What's Pokerus? Here's Safari Charlie, or Chazingdra, take your pick, with more. 16 in the Safari Zone. Encounters 28,614. Shinies, 0. But my Pokemon did get Pokerus, a virus that actually makes Pokemon grow stronger. Can you imagine if we grew stronger every time we got a cold? Feeling a bit sniffly. Better hit the gym. For now, better get back to my Pokerus-infected Pokemon. Jigglypuff's gonna be benching me soon. So essentially, Pokerus makes a Pokemon grow stronger more quickly. It has roughly a 1 in 22,000 chance of infecting a Pokemon. And remember, the shiny odds are 1 in 8,192 in these older Pokemon games. So with 28,614 total encounters so far, the Pokerus came fairly punctually, whereas the shiny was, well, 3.5 times late. Absurd. Still, with a long hunt like this, it's easy to delude yourself into thinking that your copies of the game simply do not have shinies programmed in. And getting Pokerus reinvigorated me. The shiny 2 could happen at any time. And just as I'd hoped, the skits continued to attract viewers and provided me with plenty of motivation. I turned something that could have been purely frustrating, i.e. Safari Week becoming Safari Month, into something fulfilling and getting more content out of it. Moreover, a kind of content I'd long wanted to make in Pokemon comedy. You can watch every single one of my 2024 Safari skits in the relevant playlist on my channel. And it would genuinely be really helpful to know which your favourite one is for my future writing, so please do let me know in the comments. Of course, the skits also created channel lore as I kept striving for more. You must be Charlie. Who are you? The name's Grunt. Team Rocket Grunt. Today marks your 3rd week in the Safari Zone, doesn't it? Nearly 40,000 encounters? You must have plenty of shinies by now. Just wait till I tell my friends Grunt, Grunt and Grunt about this. Hand over your shinies. Mate, I haven't found a single shiny yet. Nearly 5 times over odds. Oh, you poor thing. I'm sorry I can't help out. No, please, no, I'm just so sorry to hear that. Clearly you Team Rocket people aren't all that bad. Before you go, it's been a while since I've had any human contact. You fancy some frisbee? Sure. So long, sucker. Just when you think your luck can't get any worse. I was also leaning into not shaving to add to that sense of interminability of being stuck in the Safari Zone. Though on the other hand, it was the height of summer and my face was getting pretty uncomfortable. But where there's a skit, there's a way. There you are. Not you again, Grunt. What do you want to steal this time? Say hello to my little friend.
Alright.
Jirachi? Where'd you find Jirachi? Pokemon Center website. Oh, fair. My wish is Jirachi's command. Jirachi, I, Team Rocket Grunt, wish to steal Charlie's beard. My beard?
Okay, Jirachi!
It worked! There's no way you're getting this back. Yeah, it's not like facial hair just regrows. The logistics that went into filming this, proud of that one, not gonna lie. I settled into a routine of doing skits and streams every weekday. It was a really good boot camp of sorts to hone my comedy writing craft, while weekends provided that all-important recharge time. For example, on Sunday, July 14th, I went to a 10th anniversary university reunion, say that 10 times fast, of a group of us who had toured Japan with a Shakespeare play. And on Saturday, July 20th, I went to a real-life Safari Zone. A park, it was a park. With my girlfriend. I mean, look at those ducklings. Never forget that getting out into nature is good for the soul, with or without ducklings. But ducklings definitely help. Further refreshment was provided by very talented viewers creating GIFs, memes and fan art based on the Safari skits. It's a feeling that's really hard to describe, seeing things people are putting out into the world based on things you yourself have put out into the world. That people were taking inspiration from my endeavours was humbling, and seeing that in turn inspired me further. I am so grateful to all those who took the time to create something. And frankly, at this point, I needed an extra dose of drive. On July 21st, I officially reached that month-long milestone of doing this. With 50,000 encounters approaching and still no shiny, nearly 6 times over odds. And what if 1 month became 2? Or even more? Shinies are never guaranteed. Why do this? I'd enjoyed it all so much, but I have to be honest with you, by this point I was desperate to leave the Safari Zone. But as I said, I never give up. So I hope you'll forgive me for losing it a little bit. You heard Shay, if I try Abomasnow's Cry 5 times, I get boosted shiny, or did you now? Well, that's too tempting to pass up. Here we go. That's 1. There's 2. It's kind of looking grumpy while it does it as well. That's 4. Can't believe I'm doing this. There we go, 5 times. Let's get those boosted shiny odds. So Shay Burton, my friend, fellow content creator and fellow caster, whom I've also featured on Chazingdra Chats, joked in stream that if I did Abomasnow's Cry, or the noise the Pokemon Abomasnow makes in the games, it would bring me shiny luck. Shockingly, it didn't. But a new game was born where I would do Pokémon Cries for chat to guess. Which do you think I did best? I would be fascinated to hear, so drop a comment. Genuinely thank you, Shay, for this ridiculous game, because it certainly freshened things up, which we all needed. It also couldn't have reflected better the fast that this hunt had become.
These are the depths that we've sunk to. Imitating Pokémon Cries, nearly 6 times over odds. Maybe this will become my legacy as a content creator.
Pokémon Cries or Cries for Help? You decide. Probably a bit of both, let's face it. There it is, 50,000 encounters and no shiny. The joy in this photo is only semi-sarcastic. 50,000 had been looming for a while, so I kinda did want to reach that milestone actually. And then obviously find the shiny immediately after. All the more so as amongst the delirium and frustration had crept in a new, even less pleasant sensation. Fear. I was haunted by the sinking feeling that I must have missed a shiny at some point along the way. Even now, I wonder if one day I'll get a comment on one of those Safari Week 2024 stream VODs pointing out a shiny I missed at the time. You see, it's easy to be lulled into your button-pressing rhythm while keeping an eye on chat and forget to actually check the console screens. Could I have been free much sooner? Had what might have been a week-long hunt turned into a month unnecessarily? Had I, quite literally, taken my eyes off the prize? Goodness, I've got to be so careful about that. I just clicked run before I'd actually seen what was on screen.
Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. I'm Charlie Merriman, but you may know me as Chazingdra. And today, the Safari Warden has generously given me the opportunity to talk to you about the Safari Zone. Now I know you're thinking, Charlie, you've been here 27 days. How have you been able to sustain yourself? Well, what a lot of people don't know is that these days there are actually a lot of amenities in the Safari Zone. For example, I'm having a very comfortable stay in a Dragon Airbnb. If you want to stop and have a chat, you can stop by the Venonata Cafe, and you can even show yourself some TLC at the Executi Salon. I'm going to stop by there later, where their team of expert scythers is going to give me a much needed haircut. If you're lucky, really lucky, then you might even be able to find a shiny Pokémon. Join me 8 PM UK time tonight on my YouTube channel Chazingdra, link in bio, and see if I can finally find a shiny Pokémon. I'm 51,754 encounters in, nearly 6.5 times over odds. Do I have to do this next bit? If I find a shiny tonight, then I leave the Safari Zone. Boo. But if I don't, then I continue to stay. Yay. So don't you moan, visit the Safari Zone. Do I really have to do the song? In the Safari Zone, come and stay, and when you find a shiny, it can run away. I just feel like it doesn't advertise it very well.
Thursday, July 25th was a busy and rainy day. I made that skit, and just like with the facial hair, justified getting a haircut despite being stuck in the zone, then prepared to record the 20th episode of my podcast Chazingdra Chats with music producer and Pokémon content creator Glitch X City. Just like with Matt before, it was an honour to shine a light on the story of someone so renowned, for her video game music remixes and far beyond. We had the best time chatting, to the point where I had to delay stream by an hour, so part of me wondered whether I may as well just cancel stream that night. Simultaneously, I wish I had, and I'm glad I didn't, because just 10 minutes in... Exactly, B, I could have a couple of consoles in the Safari Zone and a couple doing Fossil Week. That could be fun. It's a shame though, because obviously I want to keep up the narrative that I can't leave the Safari Zone until I find a shiny, I can't do anything else. At the same time, I could do other things, and maybe they would be more interesting to watch. Be half Safari Charlie, half Fossil Lee? Half Professor Charlie, I guess, half Archaeologist Charlie, Ruin Maniac Charlie. You're 3 minutes behind on Stream Jack. Oh, okay. You have refreshed now, Jack. Okay. Oh, no. Oh, no. We just found a shiny Venonat. We just found a shiny Venonat. And I ran. I know it's not the clearest, but that Venonat has blue eyes. what a double-edged sword! Oh no! Oh, on the leaf green. Out of the corner of my eye, I thought that Venonat's eyes looked different. I thought this might happen. I know. Kirk, welcome. Oh my goodness. Oh no. The best way to make sure it wouldn't play, I legged it first. Yeah, exactly. If you're just tuning in, we found a shiny. We got a shiny Venonat. But I clicked run before. I knew it would happen tonight. I knew it would happen tonight. I am definitely gonna take a picture of this. Oh my goodness, this is so depressing. Oh. No, oh dear. I feel like 75% of the time I'm making sure I'm looking at the screens before I run. This was just one of those unfortunate instances. Oh no. Mixed emotions is an understatement. As you could see there, I literally didn't know what to think. More than a month after the start of Safari Week, I'd finally done it. I'd found a shiny. Had it appeared sooner, maybe I'd have kept going so that I didn't end my Safari experience with a fail. But there was no question in my mind that now, a month and 51,879 encounters in, this would be it. Besides, I always said I'd keep going beyond the official Safari Week until I found a shiny. No more. The relief was palpable. But of course, so was the disappointment. To have gone through all that, June 21st through July 25th, and not even given myself the opportunity to catch the shiny. Oh, I get that awful sinking feeling every time I watch back that clip, because it appears that if I'd looked at the screens for even a fraction of a second longer before ending the encounter, I'd have noticed the shiny Venonat. As soon as you click run, there's no going back. You're presented with the got away safely message, and all you can do is press A to end the encounter. And you know what? I had a feeling I'd find the shiny that day. It had been so crammed, and life seems to have a way of making everything happen at once, doesn't it? And of all Pokemon, it was Venonat that shone. And I'd even unknowingly prophesied its appearance in my Safari skit that day.
If you want to stop and have a chat, you can stop by the Venonata Cafe.
That shiny I'd found in last year's Safari Week, in my beloved childhood copy of Pokemon Fire Red last year, and this year in its counterpart Leaf Green. That adorable friend-shaped fluff ball with its big watery eyes had been hiding in my game for 20 years, just waiting to be discovered. And then when I did find it in 2023, it got cold feet and ran, and I was enamoured. It had spent a year reflecting on that initial encounter and realised it did want to be my friend after all. Little did I know, I'd spent Safari Week 2024 trying to find it again, and it had spent the week trying to find me. And this time, I'd run away from it. I posted online as soon as it happened. Matt, Absol-Blogs Pokemon, host of Safari Week, whose Chazingdra Chats episode I'd released 5 weeks beforehand by this point, commented, "This is a tragedy." Kyle, Quick Panic, with whom I'd done my very first stream ever. Charlie, how? And none other than the viewer who had been the very first to hop into my stream chat, Jack, aka I Salad, was fittingly the one to provide the name for this shiny Venonat. Jack, what's the nickname? Nickname this Venonat Commitment. Because it's a common thing that people run away from. Jack. That is an absolutely cracking addition to the chat. Thank you, my friend, thank you. Yeah, commitment. Bittersweet indeed. Wow. Okay, listen, I'm not ready to say goodbye to this shiny Venonat yet. We're going to leave this here. Punishment, and also a little motivator. But we're going to continue to hunt on the other 3 games. Let's do this. Let's get another shiny tonight. Here's something I never thought I'd say. We've got to reset the counter to 0. Let's do it. If I can find it amongst all of this gubbins on my stream. Here we go. You ready? You ready for it to become 0? 51,879, I salute you. The relief I felt seeing the number 51,879 drop all the way back down to 0 was unique. Oh. Wow. We went nearly 6.5 times over odds. If there's a time to get an Underworld shiny. If there's a time for the shiny luck to balance out, it is now. It is now. But inevitably, fate had already made up its mind. Commitment the Venonat was the shiny that had been destined to reappear in Safari Week 2024. And I'd failed my date with destiny.
Just wanted it to be recorded for posterity. The moment where we run and this Venonat is no longer on our screens. Commitment, we salute you. We'll be finding you again. Thank you for ending the 51,879 strong encounter drought. Goodbye.
If you'd told me when I sat down to do that very first stream on June 21st, 2024, that I was about to stream Safari Week for more than a month, and then accidentally run away from the one shiny I found, would I even have begun? In one sense, the entire enterprise had been a colossal waste of time. In Safari Week, you aim to catch shinies, and I hadn't done that. But as Matt had said in our Chazingdra Chats episode,
even though I had failed the shinies before and everything, sometimes it's just the journey to see something that matters.
And what a multifaceted journey it had been. I had started streaming. I had created a community. I had strengthened existing friendships and made brand new ones. I'd spent time with friends and family. I had written Pokemon comedy skits.
Shiny Pokemon come, shiny Pokemon go. But the real shinies, don't say are the friends we make along the way, but the friends we make along the way.
Harnessing my background as an actor, writer and comedian just as I'd set out to do. I had developed lore for my channel, both intentionally and unintentionally. And most of all, I'd had fun. The Safari Week journey had come to a close, but the broader streaming and content journey it represented had only just begun. For a start, I am of course still going strong with skits. But let's address the Don fan in the room for a moment. I am well aware you can barely see the console screens in the stream footage. The thing is, I had to do some kind of pilot just to make absolutely sure I wanted to stream before making that financial commitment of getting set up properly. This is what my streams look like now. For my birthday, I treated myself to a camera, streaming equipment, and PC parts that I assembled myself. Something the younger me, who was even more technologically averse than I am now, would not believe. And I'm having the time of my life. I'm streaming plenty more shiny hunting in the modern Pokemon games where this activity has appropriately evolved, as well of course as in the older Pokemon games that hold such a special place for so many of us. What with the new equipment, Safari Week 2025 might look different, but I hope it will feel the same. Just hanging out. Though something by this point I've done a lot more versus back then is encouraging you all to like and subscribe with notifications turned on so you know when I'm live again to continue the great search for commitment. You know, that really couldn't be a more perfect name. Yes, as Salad said, it's something people run away from, but more than that, I've said it before and I'll say it again, I never give up. Of course, as a caster for the Pokemon Video Game Championship Series, I'm also streaming my own competitive play. As for Chazingdra Chats, it's going from strength to strength. I've since had the honour and pleasure of featuring guests like Shiny Hunter Kotatsu and Univer, esports caster Rosemary Kelly aka Necra, and for the 50th episode, Wolfclick, former Pokemon VGC World Champion and phenomenally popular content creator. And of course, the show and all my videos are so much easier to edit now on the new machine. That's right, the very video you're watching right now would not exist without my new PC. And I wouldn't have it if I hadn't taken the decision to stream Safari Week 2024 with just what I had available at the time. I ran away from a shiny Pokemon after 50,000 encounters. And I could not be prouder. Charlie from a later point here. To reiterate, everyone, if you've enjoyed, once more, please do like and subscribe. It would really mean a huge amount. I put months and months of hard work into this project and poured my heart and soul into it, and I really hope that that showed. It's also the very first piece of longer form scripted content that I've ever put out on this channel, so liking and subscribing shows me that you want to see more of this sort of thing from me, and I would love to do that. I've loved bringing the crazy tale of my Safari Week 2024 to you all. Thanks so much, everyone, and have a very merry rest of your day.